What's up, y'all? This is Brian and Jordan, and welcome to the MMANonstop.com podcast. We will be the hardest-hitting mixed martial arts podcast on the web. As you know, MMA Nonstop should be your first place for news. We combine news from all over the web, put into one place, so you don't have to go search for it. We've also got MMANonstop.com exclusives, interviews, and articles, and today we've got a good one. We've got Malki Kawa, the CEO from First Round Management. As you know, Malki Kawa represents fighters like UFC light heavyweight champion Jon Jones, welterweight contender Carlos Condit, lightweight contender Ben Henderson, and next week he has Thiago Alves fighting Rick Story at UFC 130 in Vegas. So we've got all the news and notes that you want to hear about, so keep listening. And remember, MMANonstop.com. The fight starts here. All right, we're very excited to welcome Malki Kawa, the CEO of First Round Management. He started in 2008. He now represents some of the biggest names in MMA, including UFC lightweight champion Jon Bones Jones and Thiago Alves, who's fighting next Saturday night against Rick Story at UFC 130. Malki, thanks so much for taking the time to speak with us.
Thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, well, all right, Malki, this is Brian. Like we said in the intro, you started First Round Management in 2008 and really began focusing on MMA fighters then. Who was the first fighter that you signed, and what did it take to take that first step to have somebody trust you with representation in a new company like that?
You know what? It all started with Thiago Alves, and he was my very first client, and he's still my client to this day. And it's a very funny story how I got into it. I've always loved fighting. My whole life growing up, I wrestled in high school. I played football, loved contact sports. Fought in the parks a lot. If we played basketball, get into fights. I mean, it's just in my nature, right? So I just liked to fight, and I liked fighting. I liked karate and all that type of boxing. I boxed a lot when I was young. Took Kenpo for a long time, so I was just into martial arts and all that, as it came. And but my parents, really, they're from the Middle East, and they're very sheltered, right? So they didn't really let us out to do things like that, or let me just go out and get wild. So I just kind of always broke free and did whatever. And I remember one time watching this guy in a gi start choking guys out, and he was smaller than everybody. And I was like, wow, this is a pretty cool thing. Of course, my parents found out I'm watching this stuff. They took it away, and no more being able to go to a friend's house to watch this or that or the other. And little by little, I had to sneak around. And here comes a guy named Tito Ortiz, and comes a guy named Chuck Liddell, and then Randy Couture, and all the other greats that were there in between, and they're fighting, and then teeth are getting knocked out, and it was just very entertaining. And I've always been a fan of it, but I wasn't the type of fan like maybe fans today that can run back through all the UFCs and tell you every champion and every fighter, and then they know every guy by their face. That wasn't anything that I wasn't at that level. I owned a different business, and from that business, I was interacting a lot with college football players and guys at the University of Miami, and a lot of them turned pro, went to the NFL, and a lot of them came to me and said, hey, you should become an agent. And from there, I became a football agent. And in 2005, I started representing professional football players. And just off my business sense, and just from owning my own businesses and being smart with my money and just doing certain things, these guys respected me, and I'm young, I'm hip, I'm with it, So a lot of guys related to me, and I came from nothing. So just a lot of different things here and there, and I started representing them. So what I'm saying is I did jiu-jitsu for a while right after high school, and my coach at the time is now one of the head coaches over at American Top Team, but back then it was no American Top Team. So I didn't do it for a long time. And then one day I decided I needed to get back into shape, and I wanted to go back into training in some sort of martial art. I don't want to go running on a treadmill. So jiu-jitsu was the thing, and it wasn't even because of the UFC. It was just something that I had done before, wanted to do it again. I liked that martial art. I thought it was one that was very cool since I was a wrestler. I always took fights to the ground or whatever it was, so why not learn something else, when you're getting to the ground. And he said to me, he meets me, says, hey, what's up? I haven't seen you in a long time. Blah, blah, blah. I got fighters at this camp. You should come meet. If you represent professional athletes, well, you might want to represent some of these guys. In reality, I really didn't care. I really didn't want to. I was in the NFL, you know what I mean?
Sure.
But he's telling me that, there's guys that can tell. And, when your teacher in martial arts asks something of you, you kind of no matter who you are, how rich you are, how powerful you are, you kind of listen to him. You may be the guy that can fund the whole school, and this little old, guy who's teaching you some sort of karate comes and says, hey, I need you to run 10 miles, or I need you to go run this errand for me. You just out of respect, the martial art way, you listen. So drive to Coconut Creek, which is about an hour and change from where I'm at. I go meet this kid, and it's just such a pleasure to be around. So this guy, Thiago Alves, just knocks out another guy named Matt Hughes. I really had no clue what either one of them are about or what that really meant. But the kid's telling me this stuff about him. I'm listening to him. I said, well, look, this is what I can do. The bottom line is this, is I'll know right away if I can do something for you or not within the first week. And if I'm going to do something for you, I'm going to do it for you on a big level. And if I can't, I can't. It just really is that simple because I'm really not into the scene of MMA. Smart enough, could figure it out the whole nine. And one thing led to another. He gave me the opportunity and completely blew up, you know. Next fight against Josh Koscheck, I made him so much more money than he had ever made before. He had gotten some deals, endorsement deals done that were bigger and better than some champions in the sport at the time. And then little by little, just things kept on happening. So he beats Koscheck, then we get the fight with GSP. He makes a ton of money there. You know, he's telling guys about me because now, you know, guys are like, who's Thiago's guy? And that's basically how it happened. It started with him, and, you know, it's all thanks to him that I'm in the business.
That's great. It sounds like you have a lot of, extra pride in Thiago and really excited to see you as your first client.
I'm very excited about it, man. I got a lot of pride in that kid. You know, the thing is with him is that we've been through a lot. You know, I probably made all my mistakes with him, but I also probably made some of the best moves and some of the best things with him also as well. You know, I take a lot of heat and a lot of criticism sometimes for being outspoken and out there. I'm very transparent. I let people understand, you know, who I am. I'm not a guy that's going to be an empty suit. I'm never going to walk into a meeting with a shirt and tie and a suit on and be as fake as that suit. You know, that's just not who I am. I'd rather show up, tell you who I am. I'd rather just be me, and that's what it is. And I've learned a lot through representing him of what to do and what not to do. And I know I've made some mistakes, but I also know that, you know, I've made some real good, powerful moves for him. And I think those are the type of things that when people saw that, allowed guys like John Jones and Carlos Condit and everyone else to take notice and say, hey, I want that guy representing me. And, you know, and I thank all of them because every one of them have a choice to pick someone to represent them, and they've all, you know, chosen to be with me, and I'm really appreciative of that.
Yeah, so you talked about when Thiago took his fight with GSP and when he took his fight with Koscheck. When he accepts a fight or when a fighter accepts a fight, what's the process for you in the background? What do you go do so that they can focus on just training and fighting?
You know, there's probably nothing that I don't do. Just put it like that. I mean, yeah. I'm looking in my office. I'm talking to you right now from my office. I'm looking right now, and I've got Thiago Alves' fight shorts, the underwear they want him to wear to weigh-ins. I've got headbands, hats. I've got his corner stuff. I've got gear I've got to print. I mean, it's a whole slew of things. And I guess the very first thing is that when they get slated to have a fight and it's announced and you know they get into the training camp, what I want to say is that you try to build as much hype and media around it. If you've noticed me in the last couple of weeks, I've been hyping up Thiago's fight. I've been hyping up the fight with James Head, and also we just recently got Wagner Rocha into the UFC, so I'm pumping that fight up with Cowboy. I do a lot of that, but I also put up a wall around them to where I don't just let everyone get at them. And the reason being, it's not because I don't want to work with media or with sponsors or whoever. It's because they need to concentrate on the fight. So what I do for Thiago right now, for example, is everything is being set up. He's not worried about anything. His hotel room, he's got a different hotel room than all the other fighters at this fight. He's going to be in a big suite with a kitchen so that Dolce can cook for him and do what he's got to do. All his requests get fulfilled. And that's basically my job. So I protect them. I set up a wall around them. You know, there's a process of how to get to them. And these guys, you know, if you look at Thiago in this fight, when you watch him walk out, he'll be one of the most professional. His camp, his whole team will look very professional, all uniform, everything that the sponsors want. It'll be clean. You know, that's my job. That's my responsibility. You know, my job is also to facilitate. It's my job to facilitate fan requests, you know, autographs. It's my job to facilitate media requests, and that's basically, you know, what I will do before and after. When we get to the fight, my job is to make sure his food is there for him after weigh-ins. My job is to make sure that Dolce has everything he needs. My job is to make sure his cornermen are happy. If he needs a movie, a DVD player, he wants a brand new computer, whatever he needs at that time, at that moment, my job is to make sure it gets done. He needs to fly in his mom. He wants to fly in an extra coach. Whatever it is he needs, my job at that point in time is to handle that situation. And if you talk to my fighters, they'll tell you that one of the biggest services that we provide is fight week time. You know, we're there handling everything for them. You know, a lot of times Dana White and the UFC want something out of these fighters, and a lot of times they're afraid to say no because, you know, they just can't. And my job is to be able to be their mouthpiece in a very productive and positive way to where they don't, you know, look bad upon, but yet whatever they need gets accommodated, and so does the UFC as well.
What's your relationship right now with Dana White and Joe Silva in the UFC?
I think it's a very good one. I think it's a very open one. I think that you know, first of all, with Joe Silva, these two, between Joe Silva and Dana White, you've got two very, very great guys. And I think they're very fair, they're very honest, and I think that both guys are doing a job, and you know, they're doing it to the best of their ability, and I think they're doing a phenomenal job. And my relationship with Joe is very good. I mean, every time there's a situation or issue, I call him and let him know exactly what it is. Whenever he's ever had a problem, situation, or issue, he's called me, told me what it is. We've talked it out, been cool, moved on, gotten fighters signed. I just, you know, got Wagner Rocha into the UFC when he could have signed anybody else. You know, me and him worked that out. I mean, I don't know that there's no problem, that I can tell you that much. But, you know, as far as I'm concerned, I always try to keep the relationship with guys like Joe Silva and Dana White very positive, especially when you represent a guy like John Jones, where, you know, this guy can be the biggest star that they have. So I think we have a very good relationship.
Perfect. Well, speaking of John Jones, just one second.